Hey there. Have you ever heard anyone talk about how much they love bread or that they feel like they're just addicted to bread? Well, it turns out that's possible. There's actually this polypeptide in the gluten of wheat that can cross our blood-to-brain barrier and attach itself to our opiate receptor. So this is the same receptor in our brain that makes us feel the effects of hydrocodone or morphine, obviously heroin for heroin addicts. And it's considered an exorphin, so it's not an endorphin. It's not built. It's not intrinsic to our bodies. It's something that comes from the outside that creates this effect. And they've named it gluteomorphin, not referring to your glutes, but referring to the gluten that it actually is derived from. And they've actually tested this with, it's a bit of a questionable test, they did with schizophrenics in a psychiatric hospital. They would give them of course, they were on a normal diet, typical wheat diet, and they found that when they removed the wheat from their diet, there's a significant decrease in audible hallucinations and suicide attempts. Then they'd add the wheat back in, and the audible hallucinations and suicide attempts would increase. And they actually went back and forth, removing and re-adding the wheat products and watching the reaction. A little questionable, but certainly telling. Then they took a step further. They left the wheat in their diet and treated them with an opiate blocker called enoxaparin. It's what they use in ERs to block the effects of, say, heroin addicts coming in. They're on heroin, and they can give them this shot to block the high so they can actually treat them. So they would give these schizophrenics this enoxaparin, and it blocked the effects of wheat and their hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, and suicide attempts actually went back to the way they were when they had removed wheat. They tried a similar concept but with more consent. At the University of South Carolina, they took a group of people, gave one the enoxaparin, the other a placebo. Okay, so no one knew what they had, and tracked their eating habits at lunch and dinner. And the group that had the opiate blocker actually ate 33% less at lunch and 22% less at dinner. So apparently blocking the effects of this gluteomorphin actually caused them to eat about 400 calories less per day. But the fact that it affected their eating habits at all, that actually reduced the amount of food that they ate, should be pretty telling for the effects of something that would cause an opiate-like response, even though maybe significantly less than taking morphine. Still some response that would cause us to continue to, that felt good, I'm going to have some more of it. So definitely something to consider when you're looking at your diet and wondering what you could change, what you could adjust to maybe help you continue to move forward. Might be substituting wheat products with another starch. You're probably going to eat some starch, some carb that you need for energy, refueling after a workout. You may want to consider fruit or sweet potatoes, or even an Irish potato, starchy potato, beans, some other sort of carbohydrate they really don't have that same factor crossing the blood barrier and blood-brain barrier, and creating that opiate-like effect. Now, sugar obviously has an effect. We've seen those, probably seen those brain scans where it shows like a dopamine or a drug type effect with straight up sugar. But things more fibrous that have a natural mix of glucose and some sucrose, or fructose, in the fruit, you're gonna find you're not gonna have quite the same maybe feeding frenzy that you would from having a big bowl of pasta or a lot of bread and pasta, or your Cheerios. So consider that, substituting sweet potatoes, beans, if you really want to go low glycemic, nuts, and of course fruit. Talk to you later.